We are back live with another edition of PB Betting College Football Podcast here with co-host Jared Paisley and myself. Paisley was off to a good week here. We recapped all of our picks from the first round of playoff games a week ago. We're jumping right into the quarterfinals, and of course, the biggest news though of the week. I'm coming off my huge celebration of the Pinstripe Bowl with Penn State out in New York on a cold, snowy day in Yankee Stadium, but got the championship done. So very happy.
Yeah, huge win for the fan base. You were there in person, boots on the ground. The big game between two top 5 preseason teams going out there in New York. So who would have thought, but huge win for Penn State for the program. Nice little cap to the end of the season there. I wouldn't know that feeling because Notre Dame opted out of the bowl game, so I don't know that feeling this year. So
they did opt out, and that was too bad because that Pop-Tarts Bowl it turned out to be a great one with all the festivities. And I know you were big on it all year. It would have been great if they played, but we got a good one between BYU and Georgia Tech. But what a scene it was there. Certainly as a real shot at being a future playoff game, I think.
Yeah, and I think like non-football wise, like more bowls just lean into it. Like I saw some of them were getting a little, like quirky and stuff, but just lean into the stupidness of it. They might be going away in a couple of years. Like Pop-Tarts Bowl just dives right into it. They're sacrificing live Pop-Tarts. The mascots just go around. And honestly, the stands look pretty packed. And I was thinking, we might have to go to it next year and go live in person because it's quite a spectacle. So
yeah,
more people in the stands, just get a little crazy and do some weird shit with your mascots and stuff. I think that'd be more fun for bowl season.
Yeah, and really all jokes aside too, the Pop-Tarts Bowl is now like one of the top 3 or 4 premier bowls outside of the playoffs because they took all the New Year's Six. So it's like there's only a 3 or 4 really handful of other games that are like top 25 showdowns, and the Pop-Tart Bowl happens to be one. So
yeah, we'd love to, if anybody's out there that knows people in the Pop-Tarts Bowl organization, we'd love to get some passes. Maybe we could go on in person there next year. So if you know anybody, shout us out. Maybe we get our way to the Pop-Tarts Bowl next year.
Would be fantastic. And we also had, of course, the Hawaii Bowl on Christmas Eve. It was nice to see Hawaii win. That was a thrilling game. I'm glad that tradition's back, especially seeing Hawaii there trailing in the game back and forth. They win the game late. They cover, which we both had, so that was great. And then I'm trying to think if I had any others. Yeah, I think it was just those two. Yeah, the Pinstripe Bowl, and then of course the Pop-Tarts Bowl. So off to a fast start, and we will at the end of this episode break down a couple more games outside of the 4 playoff games, mostly just playoff, but we might have 1 or 2 picks at the end. But as always, appreciate everyone listening here on whether it be YouTube, Spotify, Twitter. Give us a like, give us a follow, let us know. We do this just in our spare time. We'd like to keep doing it next year in our spare time, so let us know that you're watching. We do look at the views, and we do appreciate that. And with that, Paisley, we might as well start. New Year's Eve, we have a showdown between Miami and Ohio State. A storied, rivalry. These teams have a lot of history, and we got a lot of exciting matchups. This might be, one of the most kind of just exciting, maybe not as in a close game because Ohio State's supposed to win this game, but just from their history, from the rivalry. Ohio State's been a team to beat for a lot of times. Miami, the question is, could they finally break through? They won that ugly game against Texas A&M a week ago, 10-3, which we recapped in the previous podcast. But interested to hear your thoughts. Total's only 40.5, so we're expecting pretty low scoring game facing off in the Cotton Bowl. Does Miami have any shot to win, or you think Ohio State's going to run away with this one?
Yeah, on the side of this one, I'm really torn case again on another Miami game, and we saw it worked out last time they played in the playoffs here. But I do lean Ohio State. I'm going to break down how I'm going to be approaching this game. I like Ohio State on the money line. Now it's a big money line. They're favored by 9 or 10 because of it's supposed to be low scoring, and I also like the under as well. So I don't really feel comfortable laying like 9, 8, whatever the spread is going to close at above a touchdown. Because I don't know how much success Ohio State's offense is going to have to maybe cover that number. Now they might not need a lot because I really think Miami's going to struggle tremendously to score the ball here. They had a lot of trouble scoring against Texas A&M's defense, which Texas didn't really have a problem with Arch Manning and that struggling offense. Like, it wasn't really a good defense throughout the season. Now they had a really good game. They were juiced up at home, nice atmosphere there, and they played really fast, was flying around. But I just haven't been liking this Miami offense for a while, especially stepping up in class. And I think Ohio State's defense is way better than Texas A&M. So if you're telling me they mustered up 3 points for an entire game and then obviously broke through with the late touchdown off of that sweep with Tony there with like a minute or minute and a half left. But besides that, it was basically 3 points the entire game. They were having trouble getting past midfield. I'm thinking it's going to be a lot of the same there too. So I really don't see Miami scoring a lot, and that's where I have trouble picking them for an upset or even taking them on the spread. And that's where I just don't really trust them because I think this game is going to come down to 2 games similar to what Ohio State played their last 2 games of the year. I look at this Indiana game. I think that's going to be similar for Ohio State's offense going up against Miami's defense, where Indiana was very physical. Their D-line really dominated. Ohio State's offensive line has really not been playing that good. That's kind of their missing link. Their missing link. They have really good talent all across the board, but that O-line is really having trouble. Their run game is not really great, and they have trouble pass blocking. So I'm afraid Julian Sain's going to get killed back there a couple times. I think we were talking before about a month or so to prepare for this game. Last game was December 6th. So I do trust Ryan Day to have some things dialed up. They have the best receivers in the country. So that's where I trust them to win the game. I think they're going to do enough to win the game. Now, win by margin, I think it's going to be an absolute grinder, kind of like that Indiana game, 13-10 final. The red zones were big in that game. I think both teams are going to get shut down here, even if they do get into scoring territory. Ohio State is unbelievably good in the red zone on defense, and I think Miami does a good job as well. So I think touchdowns are going to be very hard to come by. But then I look back to that Michigan game where Michigan could not do anything on offense the entire game. Ohio State played good on offense, didn't really light the scoreboard up, and they won. What was that score? Kind of like 30-10 or something like that, 28-10. They won by multiple touchdowns. So I wouldn't be shocked if Ohio State wins this. I'd definitely take them on the spread if I had to pick a side versus Miami getting the points, because I could just see it being like a 21-10, even 24-7, 24-3. Like, I think Miami's going to have a ton of trouble scoring here. So I think they could still cover without even having a great offensive game, Ohio State. But I think Miami's defense is good. I give them enough credit. I think that D-line is one of the best, or if not the best, in the country. And Ohio State definitely struggled with Indiana's defensive line. So I think you're going to see some similar game types. I think Ohio State's going to do enough to score and win the game. To cover, I don't feel as confident. So that's why I'm on the under. I think both defenses are going to rule the day here. I know it's indoors, fast track, but we saw the indoors fast track in Lucas Oil Stadium for the Big Ten Championship, and defense has really ruled the day. So even if there is a lot of yards, I think they're really going to bunker down in the red zones. Going to be a lot of field goals, which Ohio State's is a little shaky. Miami's was a little shaky in that game against Texas A&M. It was good on the season, but that wind was really causing some problems. So keep an eye on both special teams here. But I think it's going to be a very, very similar game to the Big Ten Championship. But I see Ohio State coming out on top in this one. I don't see them losing this one outright.
Yeah, I think we're kind of on the same page in this game. I do lean the under. I think there's going to be a very low scoring game, and I've been very high on Ohio State, as most of the country, throughout the season, watching them play. But after that Indiana game, it really did show that maybe they aren't that high powered offense that we thought that they were, and could score out will and out just have Jeremiah Smith or Carnell Tate or whoever it might be just run past your corners and safeties and be able to just put up 400 yards. I don't expect that to happen. I do lean Ohio State though as well, so it's kind of similar where I'm not taking Miami with the points. I would not trust that at all. I lean Ohio State, but I definitely am on the under. I think Ohio State could just do enough, be able to pull away late in this game. Also, it's funny. I'm looking just on the ESPN Gamecast. I think the stadium will be full, but it's funny because this new playoff era in college football, where if you're a fan base, you don't know which game you want to go to. A lot of these fan bases have to travel, thousands of miles or hundreds of miles at least. Tickets are only going for $30 here. So that just goes to show you that Ohio State fans are probably looking ahead, and which is fine. It's a fan. I'm not saying the players are, but everything's kind of a mental, game in football, and maybe, they could come out a little bit sleepy. Just watch for that, type of stuff that maybe Ohio State is expecting to win this game. They're 9.5 points favorites. And I think Miami, if A&M wasn't their Super Bowl, this now certainly is. Like Miami, they got to win under their belt. And you highlighted this. I was going to bring it up as well. They haven't played a game, Ohio State, in 3+ weeks, going back. I think we just talked about it before, December 6th. So they're going to come out maybe a little bit sleepy. 3 weeks that it's been since they played. Miami's coming off of a big emotional win. It is indoors, like you said, so maybe that special teams stuff will be cleaned up on both sides. We'll have to see how that plays out. But I do think this has the recipe to be a very similar game as the Ohio State Indiana was. I do like Ohio State though a little bit more, so I'm going to take the under. I may take them with the spread, but right now I'm just sticking with the under. I expect them to win. I'd be very surprised if Miami does upset them, but I think it might be low scoring, ugly, and Ohio State just isn't going to push them around like maybe I would have thought they would have before that loss to Indiana.
Yeah, and that's a tough correlation with the high spread, very low total. So that's why I'm going to be playing more money line. I might parlay them with some other money lines that we'll talk about. If you like any NFL ones, I think it's a good money line piece or like a teaser-ish piece right around that 7-8 mark. So that's how I'll be attacking. Also, first half under. I think both these teams, Miami's been really good in the first half, actually, too, all season. I mean, the first half total against Texas A&M was 0-0. Not that it's going to be 0-0 in this game, but I think it was around 20, 21 and a half. If you can find a 21 flat, 21 and a half, I think was a little more expensive. But I'll be looking to play the under there. And I'm just looking at this Michigan score 27-9. I could see something very similar to that, where Ohio State scores a couple touchdowns, does enough, but their defense really shuts down Michigan like they did Miami in this game. And I think you could see a 24-7 type final, and then you could still cover the favorite spread. And I think it still stays under. Honestly, that's what I'm going to be looking for.
Yeah, I agree. I think Miami's going to really struggle to move the ball. If the A&M game wasn't a kitchen sink game for them, I mean, then this certainly will be. They gotta figure out ways to get creative. Maybe fake punts. I don't know. I mean, I feel like Ohio State should just be. If Ohio State just plays smart, clean, don't turn over the ball, just don't do anything crazy. Like just play a kind of a more of a vanilla game. They should be able to beat Miami. I think by multiple scores, or at least stop Miami from scoring. So. We'll see. It's going to be a good one. That's New Year's Eve. So we got that game on that evening. And then, of course, New Year's Day, we got the three of them. Paisley, I was disappointed to see. I love the Orange Bowl. It's always one of my favorite bowl games of the year, of course, with the Rose Bowl. It's a quarterfinal game this year, not a semifinal game, but it's at noon. It's going to be so weird seeing Hard Rock Stadium there in Miami Gardens at noon. Also an interesting matchup in just because it's not, Big Ten, ACC or whatever, it used to be. We got Texas Tech coming out of the Big 12, and now we got Oregon playing in this game. It just kind of feels strange to me in this evolving sport that we're witnessing. But it's going to be a good game because it's a ton of uncertainty, I think, around a lot of these teams. Oregon, came out so fast in the season. They look great. They demolished Oklahoma State by 100 points. Then they go to Penn State. They beat them in a game they thought Penn State would win. Penn State season derails. Oregon, it kind of becomes more of a question mark. And then, of course, they host Indiana. They lose that game. They don't look great. Not really well tested. Oregon, I think there's a lot of question marks. They have a couple big wins. They beat USC. They beat Washington, but certainly some question marks. And then Texas Tech, on the other hand, coming out of the Big 12, kind of steamrolled through their schedule with that one exception, with that one loss to Utah. But same thing, strength of schedule, is going to be, I think, a storyline around both these teams, which team exactly, is what we think that they could be and have the potential. If they're actual national championship teams, could they beat, Ohio State? Could they beat Indiana? I think that's kind of the biggest question that we all have. But it's practically a coin flip game. Spread is 2.5. It's in the Orange Bowl. It's going to be New Year's Day at noon. Paisley, how do you think this one is gonna shape up?
Yeah, it's actually my favorite play of these four games, Case. I'm going to be rolling with the Oregon Ducks money line here in this one and about to pick them. Going up to about -2, -1.5 now, but do like Oregon. Love them on the money line here. This one is just a complete fade of Texas Tech. I really do not believe in them. I know they're getting a lot of buzz as people's dark horse teams, but I just think it's really going to show in this game how bad the Big 12 is and how bad the ACC. Not to say even Miami really lit it up in their first round game. They were kind of a little stunned and just scraped by Texas Tech in that too. But Texas Tech had a bad strength of schedule as well. They really got tested too much. And I think that really does prove a point in these later games. Have you been proven? Have you been tested? Have you been in close games? Stuff like that. And I think Oregon checks a lot of those boxes. Now, everyone's going to point to their last game against JMU, and rightfully so. They gave up a ton of yards, and especially late. But I would like to point out to people, obviously you're not going to play as hard as you do when you're up 3 to 4 scores. We know the spreads when we're watching the games and stuff like that. These coaches and players, they just want to win, or maybe just, win whatever they could do and look towards next week. So once you're up 21, 28, 35, you're not really going to have the gas pedal down like you did if it's a single digit game or something like that. So they don't care if they win by 14 or 35. It's still a, comfortable margin winning game. But I think that is going to be a factor in practice probably this week. They're probably getting a little lit up for that. I know Oregon was subbing in a lot of 2s and 3s later in that game when JMU was still pushing the ball downfield and doing what they can. It was a good fight by them. I think they had to do that for a group of 5 purposes. But again, it's only one game too. There's a lot of games that are played. But I just really like this Oregon team overall. I said it before the playoffs started. They were my dark horse team. I really like them to win, obviously, the first round matchup. I think they could win this one here. And then potentially looking forward, I think they match up and could beat either Indiana or Alabama on that side of the bracket. So I'm a huge Ducks guy this year for the playoffs. This will be a big stepping stone for them. I just really do not like this Texas Tech offense at all. I think it looked mediocre at times against some bad Big 12 teams, especially even BYU's defense is, nothing to write home about. And they only scored, I think it was 27. And then the Big 12 championship game had a lot of turnovers, pick sixes, and short fields and stuff. So, got a lot of points there with that. But now they're going to be forced to really move the ball. I don't think Oregon's going to turn it over as much as BYU did in that Big 12 championship game. I don't really like Morton, the quarterback. I don't really love their offensive style. It's a very run heavy, but I don't think they're going to be able to move the pile a ton here against Oregon. So also looking under 2 in this one too, back-to-back unders here. I think it's 52, 51's a key. So maybe a small play on that, but I'm going to be heavily invested on the Oregon money line. I think they're going to do enough against this Texas Tech defense. Now, I think it's good. I think Texas Tech has a very good defense. They paid a ton of money for it, obviously, but I think Oregon's going to do enough. I don't think they've seen an offense like this. I mean, who's the best offense they faced all year, Case? Like maybe BYU twice, and BYU can't throw the ball. And Bear Bachmeier had a bum ankle like 2 drives into that game. He couldn't even move around. So I just think this team is a sit and duck waiting to happen. They got the 4 seed, they got the bye, but I think Oregon's more tested. I like the conference they played in a lot better. They've been in a ton of close games. And this is my team. I think they're just solid all around. They run the ball really efficiently. They're physical. Dante Moore, I think, is an underrated quarterback. Even I think he's going to be good at the next level if he comes out this year or next year. I really like his game and what he does. And I think Oregon's defense is really good enough. Now, again, it was the late yardage here in the JMU game that made them look not as great. But I think they're going to be motivated and ready to go here against the Texas Tech offense that I just don't really believe in. So I think this was my pick coming into it. I was happy that it was around to pick them. I thought it should be I didn't think Oregon should be favored by 6 or 7 here. I don't know if they're going to blow them out, but I love the price here. Love that it's around to pick them. So I'll be laying a couple units on the Ducks here. Really love this pick.
Texas Tech Paisley's probably going to win this game because I am all over Oregon as well. I think
that's not what I want to hear. That's not.
No, I couldn't take Texas Tech though. And guess how many 1 possession games, actually granted even like 2 or 3 possession games Texas Tech has been in all year. It was one of them. And they lost that game with their backup quarterback. So whatever, Arizona State. No, this team, this is going to be a close game, possibly. But if it is, I favor Oregon. Texas Tech just hasn't been in these games. Like, what's going to happen if they go down, 14-3 or 10-0? Like, how do they respond? I just favor. This is where my bias comes in. I just favor Oregon's competition. The Big Ten may not be the best top to bottom conference, but there was a lot of physical teams in there. They, been able to travel. And that's actually one thing I want to note. Eugene, Oregon to Miami. It's about the farthest possible I think you could get in the country, in the continental U.S. 3,100 miles away. So it is certainly not a home game for Oregon. But nonetheless, they've had the experience of traveling time zone. They went all the way to State College and won. They've, played East Coast teams. I just think they're better. And I'm not going to go just say that they're better than the team they were last year, but there's some arguments that could be made. Some people have said that they think this Oregon team has a little bit, different style to them, that they could, potentially be better than that team that won the Big Ten last year. And I just think there's there's more question marks I have for Texas Tech than I have Oregon. I think we know kind of what to expect from Oregon. I'm not worried about their offense at all. Even though Texas Tech's defense has been very, very good this year in the Big 12. I do expect Oregon, though, to be able to put up enough points. I don't expect Texas Tech to just, keep up and win this game in a shootout by any means. I don't think we're going to see that. They haven't been really tested. They have the 2 big wins over BYU, Pop-Tarts Bowl championship, BYU. But outside of those 2 wins, they've yet to be in a close game. Makes me worried. It makes me want to pick Oregon for that reason. And I just think all around talent, if this game's anywhere close to a pick 'em, which it is, I just don't expect BYU, or I keep doing that, Texas Tech, to be able to keep up with them. So give me Oregon. I think this could, if I had to pick any of these, I think it could get out of hand late. We'll see. I like them here. I think that they have some vengeance on their mind from last year too. Just, the way that Dan Lanning ended that season, being number 1 Big Ten championship, and then, falling first round to Ohio State, or second round, or whatever it was. So I like them here in this spot, despite the 3,100 miles. Give me the Ducks, Paisley. I'm with you on this one, which is probably not what the listener wants to hear, because might mean the Red Raiders win this game.
That might be, but it could be really good or really bad for this podcast. But great stat about the travel there. But yeah, like you said, I think Oregon travels really well. And then again, just 2 more last points on this one, looking back on the JMU game, because I was trying to see the point in the game. It was 48-13, and Oregon was going in to score again, and they turned it over in the red zone. So if they would have scored there, they would have been up 42 in that game. So the final score, I think you can't just look at the final score and say, oh, JMU actually hung with them the whole game. Like, if you watch that game, that was not the case. And then secondly, too, Oregon has had a lot of injuries down the stretch here, and they are getting a little more healthy, and they actually played a couple of guys in that JMU game, didn't really play them a lot, kind of on a snap count. A lot of receivers, a lot of offensive pieces. So expect these. This is kind of what they were gearing up for. They weren't really pushing these guys late in the year. They weren't pushing them in the JMU game. Now they got their full complement back. So it's going to be full hands on deck. So I think that's also something that's kind of not baked into the number, where this Oregon team hasn't really been playing with their full deck of cards or fully healthy for about 3-4 weeks, or last 3-4 games. So now they get everybody back. I just think it's a bad matchup against Texas Tech. I like you to do. I expect them to jump out to a lead, and then Texas Tech, their throw game and their passing game is not where they excel. So if Oregon gets up early, I think it's game over. And even if they get down late, I think they could still come back in this game. They have a lot of options to win. Texas Tech really has got to run the ball, chew clock, and have their defense play out of their mind. So I just think Oregon has a lot more paths to win this one, and absolutely love them here. This will be a big one for the pod if we get this win.
This also is one of the games where traditionally I may look into taking Oregon, first half, and then Oregon money line on top of it, which is why, it scares me, because I've done that a couple of times this year, and it hasn't, worked out great. But no, I like them here. I think if they take the lead, I just don't see them looking back. I don't see Texas Tech being able to, keep responding. And to the point also, Texas Tech just hasn't played close games. And, we don't know how they would look in that type of situation. And with Dan Lanning and that coaching staff and that team, despite they're, not playing the most incredible schedule in the world, I like them in this spot, pretty much 10 out of 10 times. I think I would take them here. So give me the Ducks. That's at noon in the Orange Bowl. Also, Paisley, because I don't want to get disappointed. Tickets only $45 for this one. I feel like we're going to have to. I mean, it's great for the common man, but it's not, because I don't think the common man in Eugene, Oregon is paying, for a flight to go across the entire country either. So we may have to start the conversation of hosting quarterfinal games on college campuses if we're going to be expanding this playoff.
Yeah, these ticket prices are very alarming. I did not know this going into it. That is super cheap for these, and they're good games. Like, they're pretty decent games
for sure.
Yeah, that's not good ticket prices.
Going to the Rose Bowl, what they used to call the granddaddy of them all, out here in Pasadena, New Year's Day, 1 p.m. local, 4 o'clock on the East Coast. We got Alabama and Indiana. Indiana, of course, coming off the huge win, the Big Ten championship over Ohio State. Monumental season for them, even more so than last year, getting where they're at. They're number one in the country, undefeated. They've looked awesome, in almost every game, with a couple of exceptions. They've had a close game here and there. Of course, the Heisman winning play of Fernando Mendoza in State College that I got to witness in person, Paisley. That was just fantastic day that was. But he wins the Heisman. I mean, Indiana Football League, let's just pause for a moment and say it again. They're number one in the country. Unbelievable. 13-0. And what else would be perfect than having the chance to beat Alabama, a storied dynasty program coming off of, many championships in the last 10, 15 years in the Rose Bowl. Alabama, has been a different team up and down all year long. They went on a stretch where they looked like maybe they are the number one team in the country, despite that loss to Florida State. But they've looked like they've been leaking oil. They get blown out in the SEC championship game. But then they go to Norman, they beat Oklahoma, and what they played a really great game. And I'm torn on this one, but I'll let you go first, Paisley. I think we might be on opposite sides, but I don't know. The spread's a lot. It's 7 points, over under at 48.5. When's the last time Alabama's been getting 7 points? That's crazy. Anyway, Paisley, your thoughts, Rose Bowl game.
Yeah, I think I might shock some people here, but I'm going to go with the Crimson Tide case. I'm going to take them plus the points. I just can't get behind this number case, and I've been maybe the biggest seller of Alabama all year, all season. I just don't think they're that great, but been noticing that they have been playing some better football down the stretch. Now, it hasn't been perfect. Obviously, the Georgia game, that's a tough one to get out of your head in the SEC championship game, but they were finding ways to win games late in the season. And then that Oklahoma game just really impressed me. I just watched that game start to finish. Obviously did not start great, but then they really buckled down. They played a lot better. They were able to move the football. Now, their one thing is they cannot run the ball, and that is very apparent. It's hard to win. It's hard to be an elite team when you're only one-dimensional like this, and usually a team going up against a number one seed, they can maybe pick that apart and really use that against you. But I just think Ty Simpson and these receivers are just so dynamic where they don't even need the run game to really survive here, depending on the matchup. But I'm actually selling Indiana a little bit here, Case. Like, I really was impressed with that Ohio State win, but I think that was a little bit more of Ohio State kind of messing up late. And now Indiana made some great plays in that game down the stretch with some great throws down the sideline. I think Mendoza is great. Is he the best Heisman Trophy winner we've had in the last couple of years? Like, I don't think so. So I don't think his stats are really that great. I think he's a solid quarterback, but not like one that's overly, impressive or definitely going to crush in the NFL. I think he's really good, but getting a lot of hype because of the team success. Indiana's a great team. They have a good defense. They lost a guy to a celebration actually on defense. That was actually a pretty key piece. So that's actually an injury I'm looking at there. I think Alabama just comes in this game playing some good football. They could use the underdog card. I just think this number is way blown out of proportion. I was expecting more 3 or 4. Now it's up to 7.5. It came down to 6.5. Now moving back up over the key is 7. So some Indiana money coming in today as we record here a couple days before the game. But I think Alabama's defense has been playing better, and that's something that nobody's really been noticing. Even in the Georgia game now, I know maybe Georgia took their foot off the gas a little bit, but they held it to a respectable amount. It was like it was like 42-3 or something. But their offense I think they're a little more healthier than when they were 3 or 4 weeks ago. I think they were kind of just limping to the finish line, didn't really need to play in that SEC championship game, and they were just so beat up. Now they get another 10 days of rest after that Oklahoma game where I think they showed out. After Oklahoma took that lead 17-0, like, they just looked like a completely different team and completely owned Oklahoma. So not expect them to do the same here, but I would not be shocked here, Case, if Indiana, with the expectations now, with everybody on them, congratulating them, this or that, it's a lot easier to be the underdog than to have all this praise and then play from a number one seed perspective. So if they get a little tight, it's not like they were blowing the doors off of people down the stretch. Even your Penn State Nittany Lions there easily could have lost that game, easily could have lost the Iowa game, and even the Ohio State game. Huge win, and they would much deserved, but wasn't really, I would say a convincing effort there from Indiana. I thought it was a pretty tightly contested game, could have went either way at the end there, and Indiana made some key plays to win. So I'm kind of fading this Indiana team, and I can't believe I'm saying it, but I'm kind of buying this Alabama team. So I'll take the team that I'm buying right now. I'll take them plus a 7.5, and I would not be shocked, Case. Would not be shocked if this is the upset we get here, which is crazy from a 1-9, I think, in the seeding standpoint here. But I think Alabama's playing with some house money here. They got the card that nobody cares. Kalen DeBoer, all these rumors, I think they're now done out of the water. Everyone knows he's staying in Alabama. So I think this is a dangerous team going up in a historic venue here in Pasadena. against a team that is not used to being in this limelight. I think the Ohio State game was their Super Bowl. Now, obviously, they're going to put a lot of time and prep into this one too, but how do you recover after that now? So I think Alabama here, I wouldn't be shocked case they sneak out a little upset victory here in the CFP bracket.
Yeah, Paisley, we are screwed because I'm taking Alabama to win this game.
Oh my God.
I think
So
they're
much
going to upset them.
win.
I wasn't sure where you're going to go with it, but you hit the nail on the head for all my kind of the points I was going to make. Indiana coming off Big Ten championship, emotional win, biggest win arguably in program history. Really, that didn't mean anything, but it's a championship. They're number one. They just dumped everything into it, and I think they're really good. But Alabama is Alabama, and they're starting to get warm. You know, you could feel it. They got the huge win over Oklahoma, and 7 points is just too much. And it's one of these where I'm literally caught in between. And I say this, every maybe like 4 or 5 weeks. But like, if the spread was 2 or 3, I'd be more skeptical. But with the spread being 7, it's like either Indiana wins this game by 25, and I don't know what's going on, or Alabama's just going to win this game outright. They're going to pull off the upset, and it feels like it's going to be one or the other. I like Alabama. I just don't expect like Indiana to squeak out a 3 or 4 point win. I truly think that if this thing's close, I favor Alabama. And look, I like Cignetti. I think they're a really good team. I think they're deservedly number one. I think they even may be the actual best team, like on paper, the way they've been playing, this season. They beat Ohio State, but it's going to run out, and I feel it. I just, for X's and O's aside, I'll take Alabama for their experience, for their schedule. We know they're battle tested. We know what they could do. And Indiana is too. They've had, the close call against Penn State. And you could use that in, 2 ways, that they almost lost on the road, but it did take a lot to go down. That was arguably the drive that, won Mendoza the Heisman. So they're really good. But I've been Mr. Alabama pretty much most of the season with a few exceptions. I picked against them against Oklahoma. I shouldn't have done that. Apologies to all my, fellow Crimson Tide fans out there. I'm back on the bandwagon. And hey, maybe I'm doing everybody of Indiana a favor. Maybe, this will be another, jinx on them, and, Indiana will steamroll them here. But I like Alabama. I think Ty Simpson's, been playing solid. He's been playing good. The offense looked great against Oklahoma. And I just think for those reasons, emotionally invested Indiana, how much they were in that Ohio State game. Same thing as these other teams. They haven't played in 3 weeks. What will that look like? Have they been able to stay motivated every single day? We're just getting through the holidays. We're getting through everything. And it might sound crazy to bring up, but I mean, these are just, 20-year-old students. Like these, this aren't professional athletes. They haven't been doing this their whole lives. And I just think Alabama's going to come out. I think they're going to win the game. I'm going to be taking them on the money line. I probably, of course, take them with the points, but I think the value here is to take Alabama to win outright. I hope it's a great game. I think it probably will be, but I'm back in, Paisley. Give me Alabama. I think they're a team to watch here to make a run. And if they win this game, I mean, they certainly will be. They'll be in the semifinals. So we'll see.
Yeah, I feel bad hopping on the Alabama train here late, but because you were the conductor the whole way. But feels good to be on this side. But yeah, I'm telling you, out of all the upsets that could happen, I mean, Oregon, Texas Tech is such a pick 'em. It's not really like a big upset. I think this game is the one that could be the one where kind of shocks some people. And but yeah, I think even Indiana, again, solid team, really, really good team, number 1 team overall. And like, do I trust them against any team in the country? Like, I don't know if I think I was on them in the Big Ten championship, and I won that bet, and I was still like, I don't know if I'd pick them again if they played again next year, even if they played, let's say, in the championship this year against Ohio State. So very, very solid team, but now laying 7 against a motivated and really good program in Alabama. Could be either the, absolute sucker bet of the century case, but I was shocked with this line, with how sharp these lines are. We've had 13 games of data points and stuff. I was shocked this number was that high, but again, we'll find out after the game. Maybe Vegas knows some we don't, but I was very, very stunned. This number was up around 7.
And it is fair to look. I'm gonna say it. I did pick against Indiana when they played Oregon. I did pick against Indiana when they played Ohio State. So hey, I'm 0 for 2 on Indiana. I'm going against them again. So if you're listening, I want to be fair to all sides, of course, all sides. So also one more fun fact, Paisley. Guess which year the last Heisman Trophy winning quarterback has had less than 3,000 yards passing? Any idea? It,
It was probably a while ago, maybe
it,
60s, 70s.
that's a great guess, but it's this guy, Eric Crouch in '01 from Nebraska.
Okay.
2001 had 1,500 yards passing only. I guess
Oh
he
my
was
God.
very good on the ground. I don't know much about him, so I'm sure if there's Nebraska fans out there, they should crucify me there. But he's the last time, and I looked it up thinking that there was never going to be one, but I guess there was one or maybe a couple. I don't know what it was like. I'm sure maybe in the 60s and 70s, maybe there was a couple, but anyway, in the modern era of gunslingers and passing offenses, you wouldn't think, but yeah, 2001 was the last time that's happened. So take that for whatever it's worth.
Yeah, Mendoza was not. If you look at his stats compared to other Heisman Trophy, like it's not even close. This was
Right.
one of the weakest Heisman's ever. And I hate to say it, Case, but I even go into the NFL circuit. I think Ty Simpson's going to be better than Mendoza going into the NFL. Now we could debate that when the draft comes around, anything, but I think he's a better prospect and a better player. Now, in this college football season with their teams and the way they operate, Mendoza probably looks better, but I kind of like Ty Simpson going forward in his future more, which might be a little hot takey.
I don't hate that. I'll keep Dante Moore in mind too. There's some
Yeah,
other guys
I like him better too.
I mean, there's a few guys. I'm really with you on that one. So we'll see. We might have to rename this the Anti-Indiana podcast down the stretch. I wasn't expecting this much
I
hate.
know. I hate to do it against them because they're a great story, but hate to do it.
Great story, but we'll see. We'll see if it comes to an end. We'll see what happens. Moving on to the final game. Once again, Georgia's in the Sugar Bowl. Shocker. They played, I think, 4 times a year, every year for the last 10 years. They're playing Ole Miss in this one. Battle in the SEC, 2 12-1 teams. Ole Miss, this is a motivated. They lost their coach. They've had a great season. They're 12-1. They missed out on the SEC championship game, but here they have a chance to really kind of prove everybody wrong. And I'm just going to say my pick first, Paisley, just so there's no accusations. I'm probably going to be taking Georgia -6.5 on this one. I feel like this is the one game that nobody's really talking about. Not a lot of people are giving Ole Miss a chance to win this game. And it's weird because the spread's actually less than Indiana, Alabama when you look at it. They're around the same, but it's 6.5. It's in the Superdome in New Orleans. That's where they're playing the Sugar Bowl. So we'll see. Ole Miss loses their coach. Georgia's playing fantastic down the stretch. They beat Alabama 28-7. They got the wins over Texas. They've really, as the season's gone on, they've started to look a little bit better. I know they didn't blow people away in that Georgia Tech game, but hey, that was a rivalry game. But they've looked good. They're a team that could have 2 or 3 losses, but they found ways to win those games, come back those games from September and October, and here they are, right back in the thick of it, for a chance to win a national championship. And I feel like everybody's writing off Ole Miss, but you could count me included because I'll be leaning Georgia here, laying the points.
Yeah, this one a little shorter breakdown. I just think Georgia steamrolls them. This is my second favorite play behind Oregon. I just looked it up. A little Georgia Ohio State moneyline parlay is -115, so right around even odds there. That's going to be another little parlay piece. I don't really love doing like parlays or stuff like that, but when it's games shrink down, stuff like this, got to get a little creative. So love those little 2 plays. First game of the playoff, last game of the playoffs here. But I just think Georgia is playing some really good football. Now they had a lot of time off. That's kind of everyone's sleeping giant kind of where everyone's kind of picking them. They're not really known. Still a top tier team right now, but everyone's kind of picking them. But they're playing some great football. The defense is coming along. The offense has been humming all season. And like we said, we picked Ole Miss. I think we were both on Ole Miss against Tulane. But then now we knew this second round matchup, we were kind of going to fade them a little bit here. So I think it was a good story. Their offense was really good in the first matchup against Georgia, putting up 35 points. But now I think this is where you're going to miss Lane Kiffin and some of those offensive guys. And Chambliss got a little banged up in the Tulane game. I think he's going to be okay. But I just think it was a nice story at home there. They had a nice run against Tulane. But now you go up against a team that's just been sitting, waiting, licking their chops there. Kirby Smart, usually good with a lot of time to prepare. Little revenge from last year, too, after that exit where they didn't want to go out so early against Notre Dame in this same Sugar Bowl, actually, too. So I think it's going to be a little chaotic here. I think it's going to be Georgia all day. But like you've been saying, the line is coming down, actually. It was at 6.5. It's down to 5.5-ish, a little juiced. So there is some support on Ole Miss, which I'm not understanding, but I think Georgia gets it done here. I'll take them -6.5 money line. Looked at the over under, but I don't know because how dominant Georgia's defense looks. Early on the year, they were a great over team, but now that defense was really clicking. It's at 55-56, so I think I'm just going to stay away from the total, but I'll be taking Georgia here, probably covering first half, full game, and parlay them piece in a money line. So that's the way I'm going to be attacking this one.
Well, we're 4 for 4 on the picks, Paisley. Something
Look
I
at
don't think has happened. It almost happened in the first round, but I did take JMU with the points on that one, so we were able to break off a little. Yeah, not sure if that's a great thing, but I totally agree. I just think Georgia's better. Ole Miss, there's just too much going on there. I mean, you lose your coach, you're distracted. Talking about the transfer portal. Also, this isn't, and it's not even just those reasons. That's just adding to the fuel. I never really, I don't think anyone really thought this Ole Miss team is, an elite championship caliber team. I mean, I just think I had a lot of things kind of break their way. I think they're solid. They deserve to be here, but yeah, if it's all the way down to 5.5, I mean, you're going against Kirby Smart, and if any coach wouldn't be phased by not playing since December 6th or whatever, it would be Kirby Smart and his Georgia team. So all those reasons, I'm on them. I do think they could pull away in this one. Hope I'm wrong. Honestly, I would like to see Ole Miss win. It'd be a great story for them, but I can't. I gotta use my brain here, not my heart. Paisley, all Georgia. I think they'll win big as well.
Yeah, I hate to say Case, but I think Georgia's winning it all. I mean, look out. I think this is where it starts, baby. I think they're coming in with the hot takes today. Not really a hot take, but I think they beat this one. I think they're going to beat, Ohio State in the next round. And I think I don't think Indiana's going to get to the national championship. So I think it might be a little Georgia-Oregon is my prediction here.
I was just going to say, if I had to pick I'd probably pick Oregon to be that dark horse team to make the redemption. So
yeah, I think this would starts for Georgia.
Would be a great game too between those two, Oregon and Georgia. All right, moving on. We'll just close out here. We got a couple picks, and then we'll be back, next week breaking down. We might do one podcast just breaking down these 4 games and then just previewing the 2 semifinal games at some point, over the New Year's holiday. I gave out one of my picks. I guess I'll say it again. It was on the last podcast. So if you did not listen, it is TCU. I'm rolling with TCU in the Alamo Bowl. That game is Tuesday. So if you're watching or listening on Tuesday, it would be tonight, 9 p.m. ESPN. I think that's too many points. TCU, we talked about it, I think, on the last podcast, but they were trailing that game like 31-0 against Oregon. They come back, they win that. I know that might have been 10 years ago, but they own the Alamo Bowl. They should have their logo on, the stadium outside there. USC, I just can't imagine they show up for bowl games. They're not they're focused on next year. They're talking about going to the portal. They just lost their coordinator, by the way. I think Penn State hired their defensive coordinator. So a lot of uncertainty. If you're giving me that many points, I'll gladly take it. This is probably a game that I'll throw a little bit on TCU money line just to win, to have some fun with it. But that is the Alamo Bowl tomorrow night.
Yeah, that one USC has a ton of opt-outs too. So I think I played the over this morning. I think it was at 55.5. So a little correlation there with the underdog and the under. Or under, I don't know if I said under there, under 55.5. My first play, I'm going to go to an over now in this game against Tennessee and Illinois in the Music City Bowl, I think it is. It's in Nashville. There's going to be a lot of points in this one. Tennessee has a lot of opt-outs on the defensive side. Their defense wasn't great to begin with. And a big key to both starting quarterbacks are playing in this one. So we got Altmaier and Aguilar playing for both teams here. A couple opt-outs here and there. Kind of like Illinois in the game here to win outright as well. They're plus 3.5, but the main play will be the over 61.5. I think there's a ton of points going back and forth, so lock in that one for a little fireworks show.
I wanted to do something on the Music City Bowl, but I couldn't make a pick on either side just because there's so much uncertainty. So I like that, the total play there. Maybe I'll follow you on that one. My next pick, I'm going to send us to the Duke's Mayo Bowl. Always a fun one over the years. We got Wake Forest 8-4 going against Mississippi State 5-7. Wake played better this year. They kind of blew past their expectations. A lot of people thought they'd be more of a bottom barrel ACC team, but they look pretty good. And they're in their home state, North Carolina. Don't have to travel far. It's their weather. They should be used to it. And then you got 5-7 Mississippi State. I cannot imagine how motivated this Mississippi State team is for this. So I'm taking Wake with the points. I don't know a lot of the opt-out situations. I imagine there's going to be a few on each side, but with being home, the weather, 8-4, they had a really good season. I think they're going to be more motivated than Mississippi State is to travel up there in the cold. So give me Wake with the points, but I might as well. I'll just probably pick them on the money line also.
And I think the winning head coach gets a Mayo Gatorade bath, which is always a fun one there in the Duke's Mayo Bowl. I'm going to take us down, Case. We're going to do something again, and it actually worked for us the first time when I took Army -10, and they crushed UConn. We're going to go back to another Service Academy case. We're going to take Navy -7. This one is New Year's Day or a couple days after. I know this is the twilight zone here. We're agreeing. I'm taking Service Academies here, but same rinse and repeat strategy. I just think these Service Academies play hard, love what they do. Nobody really wants to defend the triple option, especially when it's second and third string guys. Cincinnati's starting quarterback is not playing this game. He hit the transfer portal, so didn't really love Cincinnati to begin with, and their quarterback was holding them together. So now I don't think their offense is going to do too hot. I don't think they're going to stop Navy on the ground. This one opened up around a pick, 2.5, all the way up to 7 now. But lay it before it gets over 7.5. But I'll be taking the midshipman here, Case, and hopefully go 2-0 with Service Academies here in bowl season.
Paisley, that is absolutely stunning. Going back to the well with the Service Academies. I want to know though why this isn't the Armed Forces Bowl. We got Rice and Texas State going on it in the Armed Forces Bowl. Why aren't we putting a Service Academy in the Armed Forces Bowl? I don't know. We got to send an email about that to someone, but I thought for sure this was the Armed Forces Bowl because every year there's always Service Academy teams playing in it. But I guess they were booted this year from that. My third pick, so we got final pick here that I'll give out. I'm going to take the over in the Holiday Bowl between Arizona and SMU. It's a recipe for points. I think we're going to get points at some point and it's not a huge number. It's 52.5. These are both really good offenses. And it's bowl season. It's one of the last bowls. It's after New Year's Day. It's like when everybody stops paying attention. I feel like we're just going to get one of these that's going to break out like 40-40 or 35-38, like an instant classic. Watch out for the Holiday Bowl. It's not a ton of points. So, we're not going to need a lot here, but 52.5. I think both these offenses are good enough. I trust their offenses more than their defenses. And I think we'll be able to hit that over. Also, it's in San Diego, so we don't got to worry about the weather. We don't have to worry about weird anomaly conditions. So give me the over in Arizona SMU.
I like that pick. Yeah, I like that one, Case there. I'll be on that as well. For the last one here, we're going to go a little FCS, maybe first pick ever on the FCS championship in podcast history. We're going to go with the home team, Montana State, -10.5, playing against Illinois State. Montana State's been on a tear this year. Great playoff run, huge win against their in-state rival Montana a couple weeks ago. There has been a long delay in between games here, so I do worry about that. But I think Montana State, this game is played on site, so we'll be at Montana State's home campus where they've been rolling here. Illinois State was a great story. They had a ton of upsets. They were the ones that beat North Dakota State, the heavy favorite in the first round. They had a nice win against Villanova last week. They've been traveling all over the country because they had the lower seed, and they kept having to travel around. Now they got to travel one more time, and I think they get waxed here. I think Montana State caps it off and gets an FCS championship for the Bobcats. I think they are.
I love to see that. And yeah, I haven't watched a lot of FCS, but I've in the background noticed I've been seeing a lot of Illinois State though, Paisley. I don't know. I've seen every time I turn on my TV, I don't know. Somehow Illinois State must have great people negotiating their games because I swear they're on more than any other team. Maybe it's just because they've been pulling off these upsets. So I'm seeing them so much more. But this is a team that I didn't hear about really till this season. So but I like it going with the heavy favorite Montana State. Just go back to the championship. We'll see what happens there. But that's going to be a good one Monday, January 5th. So tune into the FCS if you're able. And I guess that will do it for this episode. We will be back, I guess, at some point next week, breaking down these 4 quarterfinal games. And then we'll do the intros to the semifinals. So as always, have a great holiday, have a great New Year's, and we'll see you guys next week.